So, apply the house wrap to the wall over the window openings. So when we put the house wrap on, we want to cut it in the corners and wrap the window. All right, that way that it is sealed inside of the window, and that's one of those airtight features that we want to have. We don't want to cut too far out from the corner. We want to cut right from the corner, straight in the middle, and then take that and wrap it around the inside. Installing sill flashing, apply sealant to the sides and top of window. So, Zip now has what they call stretch tape. All right. Not a big fan of it, but because it takes a lot of time to use and it's really expensive, but it is a very good product. So, it's hard to really say I'm not a fan of it when I say it's a really good product, because it is. You stretch it out and you seal it over the entire bottom of the window, inside all the way to outside, and it seals it to the bottom of the window. What is really good about that, just a second ago I said that, whose pen is this? I borrowed from somebody. I already waved. But if I'm cutting the corners of that house wrap at the bottom and I wrap it over, there is a spot for water to get in at the bottom of that window. And with the zip tape, it goes you want to go about 8 inches up on both sides of the window and stretch it out, and it seals that entire area. So if any water gets to the bottom of the window, it doesn't go into the wall. It either goes inside or outside. It should go outside. So that's really, really nice. It says apply sealant to the sides and the top. Why not the bottom? Because if any water gets in, it can't get out if you put it at the bottom. I typically still put it at the bottom. I don't want water getting into the bottom either. But they say that you're not supposed to put it at the bottom. I look at that like it's air infiltration. If you don't have it sealed to the bottom, then you can get wind to blow in there, and now we're getting just as much water into the interior of the building via infiltration as we are with the little bit of water that gets around the window. If the water's put in correctly, water should not get in it, so we shouldn't have to worry about it getting out. Anyway, okay, so this is saying that we're installing the window, and the window is on the inside of the house, and you take it at an angle and slide it out, and then put it back in. Why would you do that? If you're on the second story of a building, if you're on the first story of the building, in my opinion, you carry the window around the outside of the building, and you put it in from the outside. But that's just me. Shim it. You want the window to be centered in the opening. I'm going to tell you that I'm a little bit lax on some of these rules that used to be hard and fast, that I think are now not necessarily hard and fast. I typically set the window on the bottom of on the bottom rough seal, and then I level it. If it's level, I'm not shimming it. I will drop my casing, my extension zams down from the top. But it is important that you center it in the window if possible. So, and I do think that it looks better if you shim the bottom of the window, but I always look at it like that's just shims that I don't need to use. That you can't tell the difference once I get done doing it. So, but you should center it in the middle of the window so that you've got the same amount of space on both sides. That way, if you do need to level it, you can. If you slide it up against one side and nail the bottom level, and then you go to the side if it's tight, you won't be able to level it. So you need to have it in the middle of the opening so you can level it. Secure the corners with roofing nails. I typically nail the bottom first, and then I rack the window to make it level. Double check for level, adjust as needed, secure the opposite corners, plumb the jams with shims, the side jams with shims. It's important that we do that for wooden windows, but for vinyl windows, if it's nailed, that vinyl strip is plenty straight. You don't have to shim the sides, especially if you're going to foam it in. Check corners to make sure their frame is square. You can actually measure corner to corner if you wanted to come up with an exact, to make sure that the frame is square. Drive nails around the flange, check the entire window again when you're done to make sure it works. I typically open and close it. If it opens and closes correctly and it's plumb and level, then we're good. You guys know what the difference between plumb and level is?
Plumb means it's straight.
Plumb is vertical, level is flat. So plumb and level. So you put a level on it, make sure it's plumb, make sure it's level. Then installing the window with flange. Okay, so check the sash that eases. So in other words, open the window, make sure that it opens easily. Nail the flange around the window in place when that's done. Cover the sides with flashing tape in the top with flashing tape, and fold the house wrap over the head for the flashing tape to secure the house wrap. Okay, so what they're saying is your house wrap should go over your upper flange, and you should tape it directly to the wall. I'm sure that's probably the best way to do it. We typically just tape the window straight to the house wrap. I don't flap the house wrap over the top of the window. Don't get me wrong, I see why that they're saying to do that, because if any water gets in there, it goes down the house wrap and it goes in the window, and then you got it taped. But if I've got it taped, what's the difference between taping it to the inside or taping it to the outside? If the tape's gonna work, if I'm paying $57 a roll for that stupid, crazy, expensive tape, it should tape to the house wrap. If it works on the sides, it'll work on the top. Installing windows in brick and masonry. Attach the window units to the wood bucks using the same procedure as before. Allow clearance for the caulking in the brick exterior finishes, and then protect the windows for damage due to shrinkages and settling of the wood. So, if we're installing brick around this window, we're going to install it the same exact way. The difference is, instead of having, a lot of times windows will have a pre-made flange on them for the side, so if the vinyl siding to go in it. Windows would have brick returns don't, so you end up caulking the window to the brick. Now you don't want, when the brick installer is installing it, you want him to leave you about a 1/4 inch gap all the way around it, because if that touches, if the bricks touch the window and the window needs to be adjusted or moved or done anything with in the future, it will not adjust. And sometimes, you have settling of the brick, you have settling of your structure, and they may not settle together. So you want to have a little bit of a gap between the two. Glass block. Multiple ways of installing glass block. I've done a bunch of glass block over the years for exterior windows and doors. There's 2 ways. One is to brick and mortar it in like it's a block, and then they also have basically silicone together. They lock together, and there's a silicone joint between each one of them. I've done both ways. I will tell you, the masonry is better, in my opinion, because you don't have to worry about the caulk drying up and cracking and everything else. But the masonry stuff sticks so well to the glass. If you're not like really clean with your masonry, with your mortar, it takes forever to clean those blocks.
So you wanna have a rag and wiping the excess mortar off constantly. You don't wanna drip it down there and leave it. Cause then it takes, literally, I spent probably 3 days cleaning the mortar off of a glass block shower one time. Because the guy laid I laid them. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll just come back and clean that mortar up after it dries. It will be no big deal. And it stuck to that glass and it was terrible. Terrible. So if you're ever laying glass block, make sure you keep them clean as you go. You don't want to have any excess on there. There's a track that they sit into on the outside. So it's like a plastic track, or a C channel style. You screw it down, you screw it to the sides, and you set everything in it. The one issue with the glass blocks that might be different than there's no play with them. You have to make your opening the right size because you can't cut a glass block down the middle and do a half glass block. Just FYI. They do have good insulating capabilities though because they're so thick. There's a lot of air in them. So they are better than a regular window because they insulate better. Here's some details on how to do your jams.
God bless you.
Regular jam there, and then they slant. They got that C channel, and then they got a board out here to slant off of it. Glass block panels should never be larger than 10 feet wide or 10 feet high. I don't know why that is, but I guess that they just can't handle the weight of themselves, because they are heavy. They're really heavy. So replacement windows. Nope. Replacement windows, removing old windows. So I'm hoping they got some videos. We're gonna look at them, but you remove the trim of the inside and remove the sash, and then typically we have the company come out and they will measure the opening. So when that window comes, it fits perfectly in your opening when you're replacing them. You leave the outside trim and you should caulk it to it, if possible. All windows are 1/8 inch increments. All you gotta do is skylights. I wanna see what videos we got here. We got videos of them on them when we quit talking.
Some windows may require you to install plastic flashing in the window frame before installation. Lightly tap the flashing into its groove until secure. Check the rough opening to make sure it is sized properly and is square and level. The house wrap should be folded and attached inside the opening to help seal the installation. Some installers like to tape or nail the upper portion of the house wrap out of the way. Then, after the window is installed, the house wrap is folded down over the upper flange of the window. This creates an overlap at the top to keep out water and moisture. If required, apply a continuous bead of silicone caulk to the perimeter of the window opening to seal the window's flange to the sheathing or house wrap. With first-story openings, lift the window up into place from outside the house. Tilt the window so the top portion fits into the opening. Then push the bottom end of the window into place. Push the window in until the flange fits snugly against the wall. When the window is centered in its opening, use one nail in the top of the window flange to secure it and keep the window from falling out. Here, carpenters are using a long rope looped over a roof framing member to lift a large window up into its opening. Use a long level along the bottom of the window to check that it is level. One worker should be on the outside of the house, while the other works inside to square and plumb the window quickly. The outside worker uses a level to check for plumb and level, while the other uses a pry bar to shift the window in its opening and shim it as needed. Once level, the carpenter on the outside can nail the window flange to the sheathing. Before final nailing or screwing into place, make sure the window opens and closes.
Now look, they didn't put the house wrap over the top of that. See that? Just FYI, so they don't even do what they're saying.
If the window binds, check the opening to make sure it is large enough and that none of the shims are too tight, distorting or warping the window frame. When nailing the outside flange to the building, be very careful not to hit and damage the window trim. You should first learn the basic parts of window and door assemblies, so you will understand how to select and install exterior windows and doors properly. The window sash, made of wood or vinyl, surrounds the window glass. The sash may be movable or fixed in the window jamb. Glazing refers to the glass in a window or door. Double glazing uses 2 panes of glass, enclosing an airspace to increase window energy efficiency. Triple glazing is a sash glazed with 3 lights of glass, enclosing 2 separate air spaces. The frame is the stationary part of the window that holds the window sash and glass. The window jambs are built into the window frame to contact the sides of the window sash. A sill is the horizontal member that forms the bottom of a window frame. A window pane divider, also called a muntin or a grill, is a short bar used to separate glass in a sash into multiple lights. A nailing flange, or flashing, is a flexible plastic strip attached to the outside perimeter of the window or door frame to provide a weather barrier, preventing leakage between the unit and the wall. They are used to attach the window to the outside frame of the house. The check rail on a double-hung window is the bottom rail of the upper sash and the upper rail of the lower sash. This is where the lock is mounted. Molding is an ornamental trim around the perimeter of a frame. An operator is a metal arm and gear mechanism that allows for easy opening and closing of projecting windows. A sash lock is a cam action type lock applied to the check rails of a sliding window or at the open edges of a projecting window to close and seal the sash tightly to the frame. The rough opening is the opening left in a frame wall to receive a window or door unit. The rough opening must be plumb, level, square, and 1/2 inch larger than the window size in width and height, not including the nailing flange. The window size is a measurement of the window frame height and width, minus the size of the plastic fins or flashing. Shims are thin tapered pieces of wood used between the window or door unit and the rough opening to support the unit, center it within the rough opening, and adjust it to a plumb, level, and square position. doors are very attractive, but do not provide the energy efficiency of metal, vinyl, or fiberglass doors. Steel doors combine durability and heavy-duty insulation with innovative design. Steel door panels are usually galvanized steel, primed and ready for painting. Fiberglass or vinyl entry doors give you the best of both worlds, beauty and durability. Plastic doors also provide several times the energy efficiency of a conventional wood door. A hinged patio door has one or more panels made primarily of glass, with at least one of the panels capable of swinging in or out. They are ideal for decks, patios, and balconies. A sliding patio door has two or more panels made primarily of glass, with one panel sliding past the other. When space is at a premium, sliding doors allow you to come and go easily without having to worry about interior furniture placement or possible exterior obstacles. Side lights are stationary windows mounted next to doors or large windows. Side lights can be added to form a large window with multiple panes. You can create unique designs by combining door panels, transoms, and decorative side lights. With heavy door units, place the door and frame assembly on the sill and then push it up into place. Use a short level to check the door sill. If the hinge side is high, continue installation. However, if the hinge side is low, place shims under the hinge side jamb to make the door level. It is important for the door jambs to be installed plumb. Use a 4-foot level to check the side of the door jamb on the hinge side of the door first. If the hinge side of the framing is not square, place wood shims under the sides of the door frame until the levels bubble is centered. It is best to install shims at the same height as the door hinges. Install enough shims to hold the door and frame straight and level. Once the frame is squared in its opening, remove one screw in each door hinge. Replace them with 3-inch long screws that will penetrate the shims and wall framing. Double check that the door frame is square and gaps between the jambs and the door are even. The gap around the perimeter of the door must be consistent all the way around the door and frame. Install shims until the gap around the door and jamb is even. Next, shim the latch jamb, checking it with a straight edge as you work to make sure you don't drive the shims in too far and bow the jamb. Check the bottom of the door to make sure the door sweep makes even contact with the threshold across the entire width of the door. Adjust the threshold as needed. Install the door latch, knob, and striker. Check that the door latch engages and locks properly. If the latch is too low to engage the striker, tighten the top hinge screws and vice versa.
Sliding doors.
To adjust most sliding glass doors in their frame, turn the small screws on the lower and upper edges of the sash. Lower or raise the rollers until the door is square and shuts properly in its frame. When installing the sliding door latch assembly, again follow manufacturer's directions. Install the striker, but only snug down the fasteners slightly. Slide the door closed slowly while watching the latch engage the striker. Locate the striker for proper engagement and secure the striker. Then, Check to see how the door closes and opens.
That was pretty basic. Alright, so which one's the casement?
Top left.
That's a casement?
I think it's the last one on the right.
This one?
Mm-hmm.
You guys wanna argue it out?
No, not really.
Yep, she was right. Alright, which one is the double hung?
Double hung, that one.
Alright, which one's the sliding? This one. And this is the awning.
Oh, I see the little twist out thing.
Yeah, you can take this online. No one understand?